Hello everyone, welcome to the 5th episode of Meet Hong Kong U Startup Founders presented by iDendron. Please hit share right now, tag your friends, tag someone who is interested in this conversation. And tonight we will talk about shellfish and oyster farming, and also a new design of rafts for oyster farming. Please tell us where are you watching from, and please ask questions to our guests on comment sections or tweet with hashtag HKU iDendron. And tonight we have a students from Faculty of Science who are working on an innovative design to grow oyster. Now
Hi,
show
hello.
in 1 minute. Please hit share right now. Tag your friends who are oyster lovers or someone interested in aquaculture. And we have startups working on oyster farming tonight. Good evening. Hello everyone. It's 8 p.m. in Hong Kong. Hope everyone is safe under the pandemic. And also please stay at home during this period of time. And everyone stay healthy and stay safe. Welcome to our weekly show, Meet Hong Kong U Startup Founders, presented by iDendron. I'm Lawrence Tang from iDendron, the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Hub of the University of Hong Kong. Meet Hong Kong U Startup Founders is a series for all of us to learn more about the works, the idea of Hong Kong U entrepreneurs and innovators. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and our homepage. Please share the live right now. Tag your friends who love eating oysters or who are interested in aquaculture. Please tell us where are you watching from. And also prepare your questions to ask our guest today. Tonight we will talk about challenges and prospects of shellfish farming industry, and also a very innovative shellfish culture raft designed by our Hong Kong U students, which is going to revitalize the oyster farming industry. And tonight we have a perfect guest here, Meko and Abigail, who are the co-founders of Soonlution. And both of them study in ecology and biodiversity at the Faculty of Science. Soonlution is working on a new design of raft to withstand typhoons and improve the growth of shellfish with the automation and remote control. And these student startups also won a lot of competitions, including the recent Alibaba Entrepreneurs Fund Jumpstart competition as one of the top 4 university startups. I know a lot of Hong Kong people love eating oysters, but in fact, even in Hong Kong, we have a long history for the oyster industry, which many of us might not know. In Law we have a 7-year-old industry of growing oyster, but this industry has been coping with challenges from the inefficient cultivation methods and also an aging workforce, plus the recent climate change problem. More and more typhoon, which makes the oyster farming much more difficult. And we have very talented young people tonight with us from Hong Kong U, who are very passionate and committed to help the oyster farming industry. So let us welcome Meko and Abigail. So how are you doing?
Hi.
Everything good?
Yes,
okay,
good. I stay home for almost few days already.
Cool. So please introduce yourself and like what are you doing? What you have been working on right now?
So hello, every guys. I'm Meko from Soonlution Technology Limited. So we are working on oyster farming equipment, especially our newly designed raft, which can withstand typhoon and also increase efficiency so as to help the industry. That's your turn, Abigail.
And hello, everyone, especially my friends. I'm Abigail from Soonlution, and I work as a CTO about the technology and R&D. I have two majors. The first major is ecology and biodiversity. That's a very fantastic major. And the second major is biological science.
Cool. I love eating oyster as well, but I just wondering, why oysters? And what makes you so passionate with that, and any story behind for you to work on this project?
For the story, I think maybe I need to start from last year. During about 1 year ago at this time, we joined a course from Faculty of Science, which is called Oyster Aquaculture from Dr. Rajan from HKU, and which we go to different oyster farm in Hong Kong, Laohaoshan, in Qingdao, and also in Zhanjiang. And we saw different kind of method they use to do oyster farming. And we find that although these methods are very traditional, they have Asian practice already, a long time already, but some of them are facing upcoming challenge due to the changing environment, especially like typhoon. Because of global warming, there are more and more typhoon, and each typhoon causes a bigger damage. So we think about that. Can we help as a science student? For example, can we redesign the process and redesign the equipment so as to help the whole oyster aquaculture become more effective, and also help oyster farming to do those very heavy and very tough work. So that's our aim, and that's why we start our project.
I see. So how about Abigail? Are you two classmates in the same course?
Yes, we meet the team meet each other during the oyster agriculture course, and at the beginning it's just a good project. And then Meko is so brave to encourage us that why not we use the group project to apply for a competition. And after the competition, we are very surprised to win a prize, even though we are only at the idea stage with a very simple prototype. And after that, Meko was so brave to encourage us that we win a competition. Why not we apply for funding and register as a company? And that becomes Soonlution now.
I see. So everything like start small, even start with a course group project, and then you can find your partners and getting more resources from the competitions, and eventually become a startup companies. But of course, you still have a long way to go. And I know that this is your teachers of the course, right?
Yes, Dr. Rajan from Hong Kong U, Faculty of Science.
And the another two members are also your classmates from the same course?
Yes, they are actually at the beginning, just like what Abigail said, is our team project. And then we design, then we go further than just an idea. We want to really turn the idea, become a real product after we talk with those industry workers and also some industry company. They said that's something they want to see and the solution they are waiting for. So that's why we trying to turn this idea into a real product.
I see. Pretty interesting. Let us go for the real stuff, your projects, and also maybe you can also explain more about like what is happening of the oyster industry, which is pretty how to say that rare knowledge for most of the Hong Kong people. But a quick question before going into that, like I'm just curious, like did your parents say anything when you told them like you're working on oyster farming after studying at HKU?
I think their first reaction is shock, because they expect what I learned from science. They think what I learned is something like lab work, using pipette or using microscope, something like that. But after I explained the whole idea behind why we want to trying to turn this idea into a product, and why it is important for the industry, and it's a good opportunity for us to really apply our knowledge. Then I think their fault is they support us, and after we successfully apply for some fundings and we see other like our friends support our work, and also we got a lot of support from different industry partners, I think they start to realize they are doing something meaningful instead of just doing a farming or be a farmer.
I see.
Yeah, Meko is very lucky. And yeah, my parents also scolded me when I work in Soonlution at the beginning, because they don't know why I didn't find a full-time job and don't even want to find a part-time because Soonlution is so busy. And my mother asked me why you don't choose a maybe some admin stuff so you can dress beautifully and make your beautiful nail, but why you go to the scorching sun, freezing air and raining, and why you are they don't understand why I like to work in agriculture industry.
Yeah, I think
we win a few awards.
I see. I think
and after we win a few awards, and yes, sorry.
I see. No, I'm just saying it must be a tough work to like work outdoor for all the field visits, and you have to like really study what is happening before designing your solution. Yeah. So let us go into the real stuff. And like many of us like eating oyster, but not many of us know that what is the process to grow an oyster. Could you share the science and biology behind of growing an oyster?
Absolutely. So for oyster, actually it is a long process. So as you see in the picture, from oyster larvae, which is an oyster baby, to an oyster adult, which is those oysters we serve on dishes, it takes about 2 to 3 years. So from the beginning, it's just larvae. Maybe is there a video, right? These are just oyster larvae. They are 3D flowing inside the water, so they swim to something hard and non-movable. So then they secrete some kind of chemical and attach on it. Then it turned from a free swimming larvae into some attachment larvae that attach on some surface. So this picture shows some a lot of oyster babies sticking on the old oyster shell. So not just oyster shell, they also stick on different kinds of hard surface. For example, some boat. So this also causes trouble to the boat. But I'm trying to say that from a larvae to an adult, actually it takes a very long time. So 2 to 3 years is like average. But of course, there are some oysters that can grow so huge. So for example, this one is actually a Hong Kong genus, one kind of oyster that use Hong Kong to name it, Hong Kong to name this kind of oyster. It's called Hong Kong genus. So this oyster take about 10 years. So the picture you see is like a arm long oyster. So
Arm long, okay.
Yeah.
I see. So it takes 10 years to grow this kind of oyster. Is it more expensive when the oyster is that long and takes so much time to grow?
Usually that won't be sold on market because it's too long for the revenue for those oyster farmer. They won't wait till that long, and also for them is when it's too huge, it shall go to museum instead of because after all the competition inside the oyster is also very keen. They're also facing diseases, and also when they are cultivated on the raft, they may crack easily and all oysters are gone. So usually the marketable size is about take 2 to 3 years to grow instead of those 10 years.
I see. Yeah, that long oyster looks like a knife or something else instead of eatable one. And yeah, for the audience who are watching right now, please tell us where you're watching from. Say hi to our guests, or if you are interested in those interesting oyster pictures, and feel free to leave any questions to our students from the Faculty of Science. So we talk about the process and sort of the science, even some video under the microscope. technically or practically, how do the farmers really grow oyster on the sea? Are there many different kind of methods?
Yeah, there's tons of methods for growing oyster, and we just list a few examples here. The first one is a bottom culture. That means the people just put the oyster at the bottom of the sea, and that's it. It's very common in foreign country like America. The second one is called stick culture. That means the people use a short stick and maybe stick, and the oyster will grow on it. And basically, the stick is just on the mud flat. It's also seen in Hong Kong, but not that common. The third one is called fixed raft. That means the raft is fixed at a seabed, and the advantage is that the oyster can have some sunbathing, so they will be a little bit more healthy. And the fourth one is called fixed bag. It's very similar to fixed raft, and also floating bed and cages.
I see. And so, what are the factors to affecting the people using which methods they use for farming the oyster?
It depends on the area they have and how much space do they have. If they have a very huge space and they want to reduce the cost, they might use the bottom culture. But if they live around this, along the sea and they want to cultivate the oyster along the sea so they can handle them easily, they might choose the fixed raft or the stock culture. But if they want the oyster to grow faster and healthier and more fat, they will choose some offshore method like the floating bag and the bamboo raft and the long line or cages.
I see. So the like how do you want to grow the oyster, and also even the locations, and I think even the flow of the seawater might affect the methods of growing oyster as well. And so what is your project and solution tackling? You have mentioned six methods of farming the oyster. I guess you are not tackling 6 of them, right?
Yes. And basically, our project is called the Modernized Shellfish Home, that's MSH, and we are tackling the problem of bamboo raft. Bamboo raft is a kind, just like that picture on the right. It's very common in South China and also common in Australia as well. And but this kind of raft, they do have a very big problem because the bamboo is breakable, and when typhoon coming, the things will break and it will cause a lot of pollution to the ocean. And also it needs a lot of manpower for this kind of industry, so they facing labor shortage. And also because the bamboo raft is so clouded, the oyster at the center are less fat and grow smaller and slower, and therefore they have a lot of problems that we need technology to help them.
I see. And so for the area around us, like say Hong Kong or Guangdong, most of the oyster farmers are using rafts, bamboo raft to farm, right? So you're tackling this problem because like the market is around us. Is it correct?
Yeah, and the market is very huge instead.
I see. So bamboo rafts is a pretty popular one, and so apart you mentioned about the typhoon, the problem, and the climate problem which affect the yield of the oyster farming. Any other problems that or challenges in oyster agriculture nowadays?
Yes, they are also facing a huge problem of the biofouling. And biofouling, how about the next slide?
Okay.
Yeah, yes, this one. Biofouling means the wild creature, like they can be soft or have a shell or maybe a tube. And they are the kind of creatures that they will grow everywhere, even on the raft, on the aquaculture product, on the oyster, on the cage, or even on the ship. And they will cause a huge trouble to aquaculture industry because they might block the oyster and the oyster will die. Some species will even release some toxin to kill the oyster. And therefore the biofouling problem is also a very huge issue that we need to tackle it.
And do you want to explain other problems as well here, like socially?
Yes, I can explain a few.
Yeah, you can just quickly.
Socially
I think it's
unsustainable. Yeah, socially unsustainable means that this industry is very labor intensive, and there's very huge people want to work in here, and therefore this is what we call a sunset industry. But if we use technology to tackle that problem, we can greatly reduce manpower, and that's what I will explain later. And the production is mean that the quality is uneven because the oyster at the middle is grow slower and smaller, and it will affect their income as well. And typhoon damage is a very new problem because the global warming is very intense and serious typhoon is more frequent. And when the typhoon strike, the raft can break and the farmer can lose all what they have, and some of them go bankrupt.
I see. I think all the problems you have mentioned are pretty common in most of the sunset industries. No new blood to join the industry, or the way they work is not innovative enough to adopt of the new norm or new challenges. So you guys are stepping in to help. And so let's talk about your solution and your design. And this one, yeah.
And this is one of our prototype. And at the stage one, we wish to focus on the hardware first. And we have the first system called the typhoon prevention system that we use a sink and flow mechanism. When the typhoon is coming, we can control the whole raft together with the oyster on it to sink under the water to a safe zone. And so it won't stay on the surface and being hit by the wind and wave directly. That's we can help the oyster and the raft to save from typhoon damage. And the second one is called oyster transportation system. We have a head-to-end train system that the oyster at the middle can be transported to the outside. And so the oyster can take turns to be at the outer water zone where there will be more phytoplankton and more microorganisms that the oyster can feed. And therefore, we expect that the oyster, all the oyster on the same raft can be of even quality or maybe even higher quality. And also because the transportation system is we wish to minimize the input of manpower, and so the oyster farmer can just stay at one point and then collect all the oyster on the raft instead of walking all over the raft like the bamboo raft nowadays.
I see. So this is your design, which is MSH. MSH stands for Modernized Shellfish Home.
Yes.
And yeah, I got a video to further illustrate. Before that, some Polo asked that, is there a Q&A session? No, we don't have a separate Q&A. Any audience, if you have questions, just leave in the comments and we will collect and show it on the screen so that the guests will address it directly. So you don't have to wait for the Q&A session at the end. And yes, let me show the video to illustrate the typhoon prevention and also the transportation system of your design. Interesting. So I see from the picture that you are still, let me show that one. You're still using a wood to design the rafts, right? So how
That's
far
the prototype.
is the prototype? So how far is like what are the current technical challenges of that raft?
I think the biggest challenge is the calculation, how we make all the maps be sensitive, and also the choice of material that we need to choose a material that can prevent biofouling, and also we need to make sure that the whole system, the lifespan is long enough, otherwise it will cause trouble to the oyster farmer. And also we need lots of computer simulation or even field testing during typhoon seasons to see if our system really work, and we need to do some experiment to see whether the oyster has an improved in quality.
I see. So in short, let me summarize a bit if the audience might lost there. For the first one is a typhoon resistant system, which is you can keep your raft floating or sinking. When a typhoon comes, you will sink under the sea, so they will not get blown by the strong winds, so you can keep the raft intact. The second one is transportation, so to keep your oyster evenly feed, so every oyster will get fed, and also mainly for the nutrition where you put reason, right? So I'm just curious, like right now, what is your stage of like really testing a typhoon? Because you cannot wait. I'll say that if you wait for a typhoon, then you're really passive. So how do you test it actively for typhoon resistant? Have you done any tests for that?
We're still working on the calculation, and we will build a 3D model very soon. And we will, at the first stage, we will build a 3D model and use some SolidWorks or computer simulation to test the structure. And after we finalize every design, we will manufacturing a real-size prototype and put it in a Hong Kong seawater or even in the China. And so we wait for the typhoon.
I see. For the materials, because they have been using bamboo, and for your new design, what is the materials of the raft?
We are thinking about steel, plastic, or maybe the combination of both. And we are also exploring the possibility of aluminium and other metal as well.
I see. Let us take questions from Polo. She asked about like what is the expected lifespan and the cost of the raft. How does this like compare this to bamboo raft in terms of lifespan and cost and the capacity? Yeah, how many oyster that the raft can hold? Any ideas from your calculation?
Yeah, sure. So generally, the first one is bamboo raft is a local based made product. So it depends, the cost very depends on the labor cost to make the bamboo raft, and also the material cost for the bamboo buying cost. But for Hong Kong and China is about within 7,000 Hong Kong dollar for one raft to 10,000 Hong Kong dollar for one raft. And the size is about 100 meters square. Is about like that. Different bamboo raft have different sizes because it's not a factory made product. But for our product, MSH, so we will try to make it as the same size as bamboo raft to facilitate the use of oyster farmer during their daily life. And so the cost will be about 5 times higher than the bamboo raft, but also the lifespan is about 10 years. So while the bamboo raft is about 3 years. Furthermore, is that bamboo raft, it cannot withstand typhoon, especially like some huge typhoon, like Typhoon Mangkhun come in Chen, I think 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2018.
Yeah, it cracked about 70-80% of oyster raft in Hong Kong, Lao Shan, which means those oyster farmers, their input during the past 1 year or 2 years are totally gone. With the raft and all oyster are gone. So while the message is we are trying to addressing these kind of typhoon damage from room with a longer lifespan and also increase the efficiency with our transportation system. So I hope that answered to your question.
I see. So apart from the current MSH design, I know you still have some plan to make it more automated, right? Can you go through that with us?
Sure. At our stage 2, we will look for the IoT solution to make the whole oyster industry to be go into the age of big data and automation. And we wish to put the sensor on the MSH, and also we will connect our database with the government database and some automation control techniques. Therefore, the oyster farmer can control the operation of the raft even at their home. And we wish to make all the process like the typhoon sinking and floating and the transportation, all to be automation or automized.
I see. So basically, for the first stage, is for the yield efficiency and also the typhoon resistance. You're tackling these two problems. And for the second stage, which you are using the IoT and remote control to tackle the lack of manpower in the industry. I see.
Exactly.
I see. So it will be a long journey to really revitalize the industry, right? And I'm just wondering, is it easy to have mass production and mass employment of this kind of rafts into the current oyster farming scene, or they have to make a lot of adaptation in order to use your products, or it can be installed easily?
Okay, so for the current, as I answered to Polo's question before, so the lifespan is about 3 years, so which means they need to replace a new raft about every 3 years. So the need towards a raft is huge. So actually, the MSH suit their need during, especially when there is typhoon problems. While on the other hand, the mass production is all actually depends on the quantity. So the more order, it's easier for us to have a manufacturer to actually produce the product. But for now, we are trying to do a less simple first. We try to make prototype first, then we're trying to make a massive production one. And also for is it easy for them? Yes, absolutely. Because what we hope and we are doing right now is we are using the same size like the bamboo raft. So it gives those farmers flexibility to, they do not need to adapt a lot of new changes. They do not need to adapt the size. They just need how to use it, while our MSH is using transportation system. Instead of the traditional one, they need to pick up those oyster ropes. So about 50 oyster in one rope, which is about 10 kg. And they need to pick it up. And those are very labor intensive work and really tired them. While MSH, we want to change this situation to turn it become a more productive and more easy to do work.
Great. So I think most of the audience pretty much understand your solution right now. Could you quickly tell us what is your expected impact for this invention or new design to the whole agriculture industry?
So we hope that for oyster farmers, it's easier to deal with the daily work, while for the environment, maybe we hope that it can reduce in CO2 and marine reflux, because of while traditional one easy to crash, become floating rubbish on the sea. While on the other hand, we hope that economically it can push up the production to a new level and actually increase those revenue towards the oyster farmer, and also bring benefits for the customer too, because a better quality oyster is very vital towards both workers, oyster farmers, or a customer.
I think what you have been doing is, you both doing and your team doing, is very meaningful, because as a Hong Kong, as someone living in Hong Kong for so long, and I don't really imagine that young people like you can work on something to revitalize the local oyster growing industry, which is pretty impressive. And because when we talk about oyster, we always talk about the French one, USA or Australia, those oyster, the fresh oyster, but we don't really talk about the you got a real one in your home, right? we really don't talk about the local oyster, and not many of us appreciate that, and really appreciate what you all have been doing for this project. And I know a lot of people have been helping and working with you from the academic side, even from the business side or NGO side. Could you also share a bit of that part as well?
Yes, sure. So we are very happy and we are very grateful that we got support from different sides. From a research side, we have our professor, Dr. Rajan from HKU. We are grateful that we have his support on how to push up the production of oyster and different kind of science aspect to address the problem. While on the other hand, we also got industry support, such like some local farmers, organizations, and also like huge company like Li Key that support our work because our MSH may address their problem. While on the other hand, we also got support from NGO. They are urged to find a solution towards how to tackle those marine rubbish and also build up a sustainable agriculture, which they think MSH is a possible solution towards this problem. So we are grateful that we have these our friends and our partners support all the way long. And once again, thanks for that.
Yes, and let us go around some of the comments. I think it's your friend, right? Is it?
Yeah, Quinta.
I see. Yeah.
She
left.
is our classmate in the oyster aquaculture course.
I see. Maybe you should get her into your team soon because she left a lot of comments. She left a lot of comments for you guys, and also yeah, we have a friend from Singapore watching as well, and oh you have another Kamani is a RA from the Dr. Rajan lab as well, and the teaching assistant of your course is also watching. And we also got a question from Bernadette, and innovative indeed, and wonder if it is scalable or really profitable. I think scalable. You talk about that because we can do mass production, and the farmers can install this raft easily and adapt to their current practice, as long as they know how to use the stuff and get used to the technology or remote control stuff. But I think this profitable question is, we have been talking since you guys joined iDendron and talk about the business side. Could you let us know, like, what is your plan of the business side?
Okay, so first let's talk about the market. So the market for aquaculture in China is super huge. Actually, China is the greatest aquaculture production country in the world, while shellfish occupy the highest proportion in terms of aquaculture, while especially for oyster, it occupy about 70% of the shellfish productions. So you can expect that actually is a huge market. While for the production, like if you want to produce something, you need some equipment to produce it. So oyster raft is one of it, mainly applied in southern China, and also not just China, it also in Australia. Because the current market for aquaculture equipment is mainly like traditional equipment or some improvement in terms of material, but not that much. So that's why we're trying to enter this market, because this market is a huge market with less innovation and not so much competitor there. So I think as in terms of this aspect, the market is really profitable.
I see. Let us. Yes. Like what you said, big market, and the industry also they have a great need and urgent need to revitalize the industry in order to have a more efficient and effective way to grow the oyster. But I think your current challenges and the biggest milestone you have to achieve is really the R&D, research development, right? Make sure that your product works as well. And
yes.
I see that you have a small team and also a very young team. Could you like quickly introduce your team member as well? Because not all of them on the show tonight.
So now we are a team of 5 because just one member joined us last week. But we are a very small team, but we have 2 areas. So in terms of both scientific research area, how to improve the production, and also how to execute our design. So it's also the engineering part. So another will help with the daily administrative stuff. So we are a very small team, but we are professional and we are ready to work on it.
Great. Really proud of you guys. And for the friends who are still watching right now, feel free to leave the questions, because if we don't have questions, we are closing these sessions very soon. And on another questions from Bernadette, like, will your technology be easily duplicated? Hence, you cannot get the profit. So basically, any copycat can copy your design, and any plan for getting a patent. But I think you have disclosed your design as well. So not sure whether patent's still applicable right now. And how do you deal with this problem?
So first of all, of course, we need to apply for patent and also copyright. So we are doing with that. And on the other hand, because copy is actually about the cost and benefit. So if the cost is too high, while the benefit is not that much, so they will not copy it. It's better to buy one instead of copy one. So the mass production is vital to reduce the cost. And on the other hand, the design will be highly modified, which will increase the copy cost instead. And also our product is not expensive. While compared with use a 10-year use for 10-year use, it's actually very affordable for a common farmer to use it. So there is no point to copy, and there is no benefit for the copycat.
And Abigail, you got something to add on, right?
Yes, we can have some small modification in the technology design, so make them hard to copy from us.
I see. Your fish at your back getting alive right now. They're coming out for dinner. Yeah, and then I think that the strength of your team is that you're not purely the technology guy and building the stuff, but you have strong expertise and knowledge from your what you have studied and from your advice of the shellfish and oyster industry, which others that cannot easily acquire that knowledge. And even I have the hardware, but I think, like what you said, the maintenance, the modification to make it adaptable to different locations, areas, or species of the shellfish. And so I think these are the strength of your team, and you guys should also really continue your studies into the aquaculture to make sure that you guys have both the hardware skills and also the software skills, which is the knowledge of this vertical of this industry, which I think many people
aquaculture.
Yeah, many people don't really know about this. And yes, and let me see any other questions from the audience. Oh yeah. So before we close, maybe you can give some words to your junior fellows or classmates who are still thinking about like starting something else. What is any advice or wisdom to them?
Not that much, but I think in the process of trying and starting our solution, I think we got a lot of learn from both from our friends, our partners, our teachers. Of course, we make mistakes, but I think the process is vital, very vital to acquire more knowledge and brave to try. So for DSE student, if you are watching, so welcome to join ecology. So this is an amazing adventure for the student, and yeah.
Yeah, the faculty should hire you as the admission ambassador. Any words from Abigail as well?
I strongly encourage new students to university. You can consider double major because double major can allow you to do cross-discipline things.
Interdisciplinary.
Yes,
yeah, because
definitely.
Meko study ecology and diversity, and your another major is from Faculty of Business, wealth management.
Wealth management, yeah.
So that's why you're the CEO, and Abigail, what is your another major? I forgot. Sorry. Abigail, what is
biological science? That is about. My
go
second
ahead.
major is about biological sciences. That is the micro scale of biology, but ecology is about the macro scale, like the ecosystem.
I see. So you are the CTO because you are the subject matter expert among the team members. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And last but not least, because this video will be online immediately, and friends and we also will sending out emails to ask people to revisit. So any call for action, or you need any help or mentors or technical support or partnership, you can just say it here and ask people to contact you.
Yeah, actually we need a lot of industry friends, for especially like manufacturer, and also if you are expert in this field and you're interested in a project, no matter you just want to know more about it, or you are interested in investing, or you want to be friends with us, welcome to contact us by email or by email. So you are very welcome, and we are happy to share more about our learning, our understanding, and our journey of a solution.
And so please love oyster, eat oyster, and buy MSH.
Yeah.
I look forward to your business as well. I don't know whether you still remember. I once I said that if I'm like, if I was your classmate, I probably would join your company as well, because I'm really interested in the oyster farming industries. Yeah, a lot of excitement. I can see a lot of excitement from that as well. So
yeah,
thank you
for our future anytime.
Yeah. So tonight we have talked with Meko and Abigail, the co-founders of Soonlution, the CEO Meko and the CTO Abigail. They are the students and graduates from Faculty of Science who have been studying ecology and biodiversity, and also doing double major in wealth management and biological science. And I really love that how they start this project from a small course group project to a real startups, and making use of their own knowledge from the oyster aquaculture course, and keep on like pivot this ideas and become I will not say a business, but you guys still working hard on the R&D. But I'm really looking forward to that. And if any Hong Kong youth founders watching right now, please let us know if you want to get on the show, and let more people to know more about your ideas or products. Reach out to us at iDendron@hku.hk, or just direct message or inbox us in our Facebook page, HKU iDendron, or LinkedIn, whatever we are really accessible. And last but not least, let me do some advertisement. Is that there are several programs online. Before we end, I just want to show this. Meko was recently featured on the Hong Kong Economic Journal because he participated a lot of competitions with these projects, and it's a bright student teams from Hong Kong U. And yes, the Hong Kong AI Lab Accelerator program is recruiting the new cohort. If any audience is working on a project related to AI applications, please join this very fruitful programs. They got seed funding, also support by Alibaba and SenseTime as well, and both funding support, expertise support, software support, you can see on this slide. And another one is also the Cyberport funding. The Cyberport Creative Micro Fund, 100K funding for prototyping, and also the Cyberport Incubation Program. The deadline will be in 3rd of August. So you still have more than a week to prepare if you want to get some funding for your projects. And if any Hong Kong U students or graduates want iDendron to help with this application, you can feel free to reach to us and we can talk about your proposal to see how to increase the chance to get the funding. And yes, and thanks again, Meko and Abigail. Hope all the friends enjoy it, and please stay safe. And see you all next Thursday. We'll get another team online, and see you all again. Good night and goodbye, everyone.
Bye.